be affirming a lot of what Dr. Su was talking about just now. So, and Nusantarazation as a theory of decolonization will help, probably, hopefully, to address some of those concerns of development. Is the video feed all right? Yeah, okay. Okay, there we have some signal problem over here. So, all right, let me start with the first slide without further ado, yeah? The first slide, are we in the first slide now? Okay, the next slide, this is the opening slide. Okay, so let me, without being too theoretical, I do need to do a bit of a definition of what Nusantarazation is. Since
Assalamualaikum, PM Dr. Rivani,
yeah.
Can you kindly speak loudly because there are participants that can't hear you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
We seem to have the same problem again. All right, is it better now?
Yes,
thank you. Better now? All right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Somehow, the more technology advances, the harder things become. Let me define what Nusantarazation is, right? A working definition. It is a theory and a process of decolonization so it's a theory and process of decolonization by letting go of the destructive colonial powers, paradigms, as well as elements. And the part two of Nusantarazation is the re-empowering local wisdom and indigenous heritage of Nusantara, while the third part progressing towards principle-centered futures. So letting go of the destructive colonial past, and then re-empowering the local wisdom, the indigenous heritage, and then third is moving forward towards principle-centered futures. Let me go to the first Nusantarazation principle of urban justice. All in all, we have 7, but I'll be focusing on the first 3. If time permits, then I will go on to the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. The first one, the Nusantarazation principle of urban justice. All right. Okay. Okay. So Nusantarazation is basically to let go of the colonial past, to let go of the colonial elements that are destroying us, that is being destructive to the society, to the people, to the environment. Yeah. So the first urban justice principle of Nusantarazation is reclaiming the commons. This is where I'm very much in line with the first speaker, and that is the whole idea of privatization. Reclaiming the commons as a principle is about making sharing the king again, right? So it's about establishing shared spaces, shared resources, shared activities. And if you look at, and I like to cite an example. If you look at the whole space of Nusantara, right, which is a wide geographical or civilizational space that expands from Sumatra to Kalimantan, Borneo, until Philippines, and the southern part of Indonesia up to Singapore, Malaysia, and a big part of Indochina. If I were to look at Nusantara and I say the current Nusantara, if there's a city that might capture the essence of Nusantara if we were not colonized, we can't have that reality right now, but suppose there's one that comes close to that reality. I would think Jogja would be an example, Yogyakarta, right? And if you have been to Yogyakarta, you'll see that there's many areas, especially in this long stretch of road called Malioboro, right? Malioboro Road. You see people mixing around freely. You see the lecturers and the students, the families, and the street children, the musicians, and all kinds of people mixing around. And then they'll be walking on the street. They'll be eating in an open space, right, called lesehan. They'll sit on the ground, on the floor, right, with mats and all that. Yeah? But you get a feel that it is very open. It is very warm, and it is not the type of urban crowdedness, not the kind of macet. Macet means the traffic, that we do not have the kind of traffic you get in Jakarta or Manila or Kuala Lumpur, or sometimes in Penang as well. Right? The pace is different, right? The pace is very much sejahtera, santai, which is more relaxed pace. But there are times that it's very busy, and but the busyness is captured by the people that come together, and it cuts across all levels, all sections of social groups, and you see that kind of urban space, the urban culture that you can hardly find in any other cities, at least majority of cities in Malaysia, and in Southeast Asia for that matter, right? So what is it? Yeah. So one of the Nusantarazation principle is actually to start the process reclaiming the commons. It's commoning the city. When we neutralization of the destructive privatization, we will have inclusivity again. When we start to create more space that is shared. And if you look at the picture up there, there's those Javanese people with the keris, with the dagger at the back there, right? Those are called Abdi Dalam. Abdi Dalam are people who serve the kraton, the istana, the palace, with the most minimum amount of pay, right? I think it's 15,000 rupiah, which translates to what, 3, 4, 5 ringgit, right, per month, right? And but they're allowed to stay around the areas, the kampong, the dwellings around the palace, and they can pass down the house from one generation to another without owning the property. And that has been the characteristic of Yogyakarta as a city. The Sultan, the king, right, the only king left that has a throne and has its territory, right, the Sultan of Yogyakarta, right, actually owns a large piece of land in Yogyakarta, including Universitas Gadjah Mada, which is one of the top universities in Indonesia. But some claim it is #1. Well, maybe it's still top 5 there, right? So this the idea of sharing. It is the idea of opening space for people, the public, to see, to enjoy, to have their own pace of life, and that is about commoning the city. That is creating more public spaces, more shared space for people, for the public, to make it much more inclusive. And that is Nusantarizing the urban space, right? And when we create urban spaces that is more socially inclusive, we become more socially just, right? And if we make areas, housing, malls, or whatever, private clubs and all that, that are much more harder to be accessed by the general public, we are excluding people, we are marginalizing people. And that kind of idea of privatizing, making quality of life, a good life, hard to access when you do not have financial strength, when you do not have the income, and that is being undemocratic. So Nusantara, as a concept, as a heritage, is a heritage of sharing. The lands, we share the lands, we share the oceans, right? So we can roam around like dolphins from one ocean to another. And the people were perantau, so they were not migrants, right? Migrants is a concept of a Westphalian European concept where the sovereignty is defined by the borders. So the borders in Nusantara time were not existent. It's a concept of kampong. Kampong, between houses, have a lot of shared spaces. The boundaries are being shared. So this is about reclaiming the commons. So the first principle is about creating commons, reclaiming the commons, expanding the commons. So that is the first one. So I'll go to the next slide, right? Are we ready? Okay, the next slide. This is one river in Penang, right? Looking quite sad there, looking like very dirty, right? This is Sungai Arah, by the way, right? The Sungai Arah river, right? Instead of the illegal, whatever kind of illegal things being operated there along the river, right? And then there are cows being bred there, and then the roads not too not too orderly as well. But this was once upon a time, right? Now, Sungai Arah has been transformed. By what I call another Nusantarazation process, right? We go to the next principle now, the next slide, right? What is that, right? So Nusantara principle of urban justice number 2 is rebuilding the sharing farm. This is how Sungai Arah waterfront look like right now, right? So it has been transformed, right? A group of people have come together. I'll show you one of the leaders in the group. They have created this community farm area along the riverside, and they have created individualized plots, right? Allotments, right? This is very similar to the Swedish lifestyle, Swedish urban lifestyle, where they're given small plots of land, not big, small, right? And then they are responsible for that. And there's a collective effort to do gotong royong, to grow things. And in this area, you can ride your bicycles and you can draw pictures. And that's me. That's, by the way, the one that wearing the farmer. That's me. But that is in my home, by the way. But it's not. That's Sungai Arah. So the idea of creating sharing farm, and it's not just urban farming. Like, I want to emphasize the word sharing again. It's about creating a kind of a space that people come together and grow things and reconnect with the greens, not in an exclusive elite gentrification process, but to engage the community. So when we look at the whole idea of sharing farm, right, we are talking about the transformation from the linking from the land to reconnecting to the land, reconnecting to the earth, the nature, the green. And there's a Ulam community which I'm part of, a new member started by Ku Salma, one of our top-notch activists in Penang, right? And then in this community, they call themselves the Funmers, the Ulamas, not ulama, but ulamas. And this group of people do massive amount of sharing. They share their seeds, they share their fruits, they share their knowledge, they share their soil, they share just about anything that comes up from the land. Right? They come over and visit the farm, the gardens in the house, and we see that there's this transformation of private consumerist mindset to a sharing culture, to a sharing system. There's a system of sharing as well, and this is very Nusantara. Nusantara is a space where people share, right? And if it is an anomaly, sesuatu keganjilan, sesuatu keanehan, it is strange to see houses in Nusantara in the past without any plants. Basically all, right? I'm not sure all, but you look at the kampung, right? Everyone basically has some kind of plants or ulam or herbs or tree or fruit tree or something there, or rare chickens or ducks and goats and lambs, whatever, right? Cows, right? So they are very connected to the earth, very connected to nature, very connected to green, not in an elitist way, right? But in a very human to earth kind of connection. So and what happens through the sharing farm principle of Nusantara is where there's this relearning, re-energizing of local wisdom, this renewal and reversal of anomaly. So land doesn't become something alien anymore. Land has become part of them, and they have defined themselves as farmers, as urban farmers, as ulamas, as it is a different kind of identity, not the kind of identity that's being privatized. And you see the collective effort emerging, but there's still individualized responsibilities, right? And if you go to the next slide, we go to the next slide, and this is that is, by the way, Mr. Eric Chi is one of the leaders or initiators, right? Is of this area, this Sungai Arah waterfront area, and it is beautiful, and they have actually made income less relevant to quality of life, right? When we talk about planning, it's not just planning the physical space, it's also planning for the metaphysical space, planning for the social space, planning for the social economic space. It's about transformative process as well. That's why HBP is very powerful and strong, important school in USM, right? So it is about solving the problems of urban life. And one of the urban life problems is accessibility of quality of life. And the paradigm that is hindering that is that it is income dependent. So by having this sharing farm being re-established, right, we are making income less relevant to quality of life. So they can have.
You have 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes. Okay, I'll go to the next one. As I said, okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, and this, by the way, is happening today, yesterday, right? Penang government is stopping the local community from having their own community farm. They are making use of making good use of the lands besides the roads, and they are being stopped by our local government right now. It's happening again, right? Let me go to the third principle. Now, the third principle of Nusantarazation principle of urban justice, number 3, it is an ennoblement and a renewal of living heritage. And this paradigm is about might be overlapping, but sometimes conflicting with the current world global idea of heritage. And this has been critiqued by Anthony Giddens himself. He talks in his book, in Runaway World, we are creating this empty heritage where we preserve the buildings, but the original people, their original purpose are no longer there. But what we see in Malang, this is in Malang, this is the picture before, there's a transformation, the renewal of living heritage, ennoblement. They feel that this is a noble thing, they're part of a noble effort, a noble community. The whole land, the whole community, the whole kampong has been transformed. And if you look further inside, the Nusantarazation principle, the next slide, is about ennoblement. You see the children, the teenagers, the landscapes have been changed, the walkways have been, the staircase, right, has been changed and transformed. And this is very lively. It is very motivational. It makes you want to go back to your village. It makes you want to go back to your home, and people want to go back to your place. Right? The next slide there. And you have murals. And this is, by the way, started by university students from UMM, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang. They started it, and then it snowballed into a CSR project, the faculty project. It is amazing. It is amazing. They have their own murals as well. Fascinating mural. We are proud of our murals. I've been to this place. It is fascinating to see a living heritage, not the heritage that turned into cafes and fake museums and all kinds of things, but the real essence of the heritage has gone. Right. This is a living heritage. That's what we want. So let me go to the next one. Please stop me. And then the last part of this urban justice principle is about the heritage that is about everyday living heritage, social heritage. So we recognize as well there are the bakers, the barbers, the pandai besi, the blacksmith. But we do not cherish them. We do not turn their activity, turn their space, turn their craft into heritage in where they are living in right now. Right? So much so that SEMPRIS right now, Center for Policy Research International Studies, where I am right now, have actually challenged why are we just glorifying the colonial buildings. How about our kampong, our traditional kampongs in Georgetown, Penang, is been, is diminishing, is disappearing. And why? Is that not precious enough? Is it not, significant enough that it should not be regarded as a heritage? This needs to be debated, right? So we need to make people, community who live in their own space, having their own crafts, feel ennobled, right, and feel that they are part of something important, and if we do that as a principle of urban justice, right, to turn their living space, to turn their living culture into a heritage and preserve, conserve, renew it, right, that is actually decolonizing it. Otherwise, we will be, deifying, turning the colonial lords into gods, right? People have tear down statues in the West. We still glorify them, right? We still have schools that say founder of Penang is Francis Light. I cross that school every day from Minden Heights to over here. I see that school have that picture of Francis Light, right? We still glorify them. We deify them, right? Not knowing what our real heritage, right? So if I have a bit more time, I can go to the next one. The next principle is recentering indigenous heritage. We often marginalize the people who were originally in their land, and then we occupy that land and we forgot about them. And this happened in the Batawis in Jakarta, happens to the Lampung people in Lampung itself. Batawis, the ondel, the picture there, every time there's some big event, they will come out, and then and then they suddenly disappear. But in Batawi, I've carried out research in there, right? They actually have one of the biggest flower market in Southeast Asia. There are no longer Batawis in there. They are mainly from Sunda and Java and Sumatra, right? The Batawis they're being marginalized. So we need to recenter, rectify our social scenes that we have marginalized. The istilah yang dipakai di Indonesia is putra daerah itu, putra daerah. Right? These are people who welcome us, and then we marginalize them. We forgot about them, and then they turn into premans. They turn into sorry, they turn into thugs or whatever. And we blame them, right? We say, you're useless. You become. But then we created a urban system that marginalizes the indigenous, that marginalizes the locals, and then we must rectify these sins. We perlu menebus kesalahan ini, menebus dosa ini, right? We need to Nusantarize this space again. I probably stop there because I think I'm probably taking more time than I should right now, right? I do have a couple more principles in there. For Jamil, back to you.
Thank you, Prof. All right, I will